I was in high school, I really enjoyed the anime series Death Note. After I watched the anime, I decided to read the manga all the way through. And just like the Death Note anime, I enjoyed the Death Note manga for the most part as well. I would say that 2/3 of Death Note contains masterful storytelling. That last third is not on par with 2/3 of Death Note. I have seen the live-action Death Note films that came from Japan, save for L Change the World. I have not seen the Death Note TV drama that was also released in Japan, but I have recently seen the Netflix Death Note film. I know there are many Death Note fans that are very wary when it came to the Netflix Death Note film, considering that the film took place in Seattle, Light Yagami's last name was changed to Turner, and L was played by a black actor. And not to mention, Misa Amane's name was changed completely. I'm not gonna lie, I had low expectations for the Netflix Death Note film, and that's because of America's reputation in adapting material that originated as anime or manga. Most of them have not been good at all. So I can't say I was disappointed with the Netflix Death Note film because I knew what it was going to result in. The Netflix Death Note film is not good at all. I could say that the best thing about the Netflix Death Note film is Willem Dafoe's performance as Ryuk. As much as I would love to say that Willem Dafoe stole the show with the Netflix Death Note film, I can't because Ryuk is not even in the film that much, which is the one disappointing thing I have with the Netflix Death Note film, because I knew there was going to be some things I was not going to like in this film, and I was really hoping that Willem Dafoe would ease my other nitpicks with the Netflix Death Note film, but considering that he doesn't have that much screen time, I was let down. I also find it humiliating that Ryuk's design is heavily shadowed, as if they are trying to mask how average the CGI on Ryuk is, because I know the CGI is not particularly that great with Ryuk in the Netflix Death Note film, but it's nowhere as laughably bad as Ryuk in the live-action Death Note films from Japan. Much like the Death Note anime, there is some flashy camera work when it came to the cinematography of the Netflix Death Note film. Now, unlike the Death Note anime, the camera techniques that are used, such as the Dutch angle and even some slow motion, is a tad excessive, whereas the Death Note anime was a bit relaxed with how flashy it can get and when they should use it. I just think that there is not much of a balance when it came to the Netflix Death Note film when it came to flashy camera techniques. The film score to the Netflix Death Note film is forgettable, but it does have a soundtrack, a selection of songs, if you may. And it's one of the worst things in the Netflix Death Note film. Why? Because the soundtrack to the Netflix Death Note film is filled with 80s vibe. I'm not kidding. Either the music is mostly from the 80s, and if it's not from the 80s, it still has that 80s vibe to it. There has not been a single iteration of Death Note, whether it be the manga, the anime, the live-action films from Japan, or the TV drama from Japan, that were set in the 80s. All iterations of Death Note were set in modern-day settings. So not only is the soundtrack in the Netflix Death Note film inappropriate for Death Note in general, it is also out of place. This is one of the worst soundtracks I have ever heard from the last 10 years since Twilight. Now, even though I hate the film Twilight with a passion, at least the soundtrack to that film was actually fitting, given the fact that most of the characters were going to high school. And the music that was chosen for the first Twilight film was generally music that high schoolers would be listening to. The problem with the soundtrack to Twilight is that it was poorly utilized, especially the scene where the Cullens are playing baseball, with Supermassive Black Hole by Muse playing in the background. And of course, the end credits, since I have to mention it. So how can the Netflix Death Note film soundtrack be worse than Twilight? There is a Ferris wheel scene where they play the song I Don't Want to Live Without Your Love by Chicago. Yes, Chicago, the same classic rock band known for their hit song 25 or 624. A Chicago song was used in an Americanized Death Note film. And the song's usage is laughably out of place and actually took away what could have been an emotional scene, even if it tried. Now, before I hear anyone tell me that this is just an adaptation, let me remind you that Light Yagami from other iterations is meticulous and methodical in his actions. Misa Amane is bubbly and naive. L, on the other hand, is calm and collected. The reason I say this is because how the characters are written in the Netflix Death Note film is the opposite of these three characters from past iterations. Light Turner is an angsty, pussified version of Light Yagami. Nothing like Light Yagami from the other iterations of Death Note. Now, as for Mia Sutton, who is obviously this version's Misa Amane, is the complete opposite of Misa Amane. In fact, Mia Sutton is a bitch, and she proves it later on in the film. Now, as for L, I did say that he was calm and collected, but he does let his emotions get to him, which is a huge no-no when it comes to L's character. I will give the Netflix Death Note film some credit for actually taking cues from the source material. However, the essence of Death Note will not be found in this Netflix Death Note film. And many of the aspects that make Death Note great for 2/3 of the experience are lost in translation when it comes to this Netflix adaptation of Death Note. I actually do recommend that you give the Netflix Death Note film at least one watch, but I cannot guarantee that you will like it. I personally did not like the Netflix Death Note film, and how this film ends. There's probably going to be a sequel. I was really hoping that this would just be one film and never go back to it. But if this film proves successful, we're probably going to get a sequel, and if they don't make a sequel, then this film is pointless altogether. This is the worst iteration of Death Note, period. Now that my business is done here, I'm going to be shooting a 2 out of 10 for the Netflix Death Note film. Shoot that like button, shoot in the comment section down below, and shoot that subscribe button if you like this review, if you want to leave me a comment or share any thoughts of what you think of the Netflix Death Note film, or if you want to follow my channel. But if you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you very much, and thank you for watching my review of the Netflix Death Note film. And until my next review, good day and good night.